What we do here is go back.
How's it going, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Lost Media podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about Stanley Kubrick's film Dr. Strangelove and how I learnt to stop worrying about the bomb, and Stanley Kubrick in general, and his practice of completely erasing and deleting from history all of his unused scenes in his movies. His former practice, because Stanley Kubrick died in 1999, not long after filming Eyes Wide Shut. I'm not sure if he watched the movie or not, actually. Someone can tell me in the comments if he actually ended up watching that before he died. But he was a pretty groundbreaking filmmaker. He made a lot of incredible films in his time. Not really my thing, personally, as a film buff and as a massive fan of filmmaking. He's not really, my favorite filmmaker, and he's not really my style. I think his practice of how he made movies, in my opinion, was a bit absurd, and that's what we're going to get into today. I think it was a bit over the top, and you look at it today and you kind of think, he probably went way too far in a few areas and probably made the production just complete hell for his actors. But he was a great guy, and he got along very well with most of the people he worked with. And although filming his movies was a strenuous and absolutely exhausting task for the actors and for everyone involved because of how many takes he would require, he was a great filmmaker, and I think no one can doubt that, and he's made some incredible films. I'm going to be talking about only one of his lost scenes, of one scene that he supposedly erased from existence, but other people may have actually saved it because there is so many screenshots from it. It's not a question of they may have saved it. I think it actually exists somewhere because of all the screenshots and all the pictures that have been released from the filming of this scene, which I'll be playing behind me. It is definitely something that there is a possibility of being found. By the way, guys, if you haven't seen Dr. Strangelove, don't watch this podcast. Maybe just listen to it, because what I'm playing behind me is a lot of Dr. Strangelove scenes and a lot of screenshots from the pie throwing scene I'm going to talk about today and different parts of that movie. Because it is very relevant to this piece of lost media. So yes, it is the pie throwing scene. Stanley Kubrick's film, Dr. Strangelove for short, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying About the Bomb, is a 1962 film that is based on the Cold War and the rising tensions of the Cold War between world leaders. And it's a comedy. It's a black comedy about the world basically going to shit and how incompetent everyone is in terms of, failing to keep peace and failing to understand what's important. And it's a satirization of what the world was becoming around the time and how stupid things were getting. And that's why it's such a memorable film, and it became such a famous comedy, because to make a black comedy about such a matter was obviously deemed pretty edgy for the time. And I think it opened everyone's eyes up to how frivolous this was getting, this arms race, nuclear arms race, and the fact that it was made in 1962 in the middle of this, and it is a fictional movie, is very, very cool. But the ending of the film, now, guys, you're going to laugh your ass off at me, but as a non-Stanley Kubrick fan, I have not seen this movie. I would like to see it because it is apparently a hilarious movie. The ending of the film, though, I'm not going to discuss because I don't know it. But it is very famous at this point, and it is completely different to what was going to be the ending, which was the pie throwing scene. And this was something that was recorded, was filmed, of course, and the scene may exist somewhere in the vaults of the studio that released Dr. Strangelove, in the deep vaults of Hollywood. I think it actually does still exist. I think this was one of those scenes that Stanley Kubrick couldn't get his grubby little hands on to delete and burn. Sorry, that's a bit disrespectful. What it entails is all the world leaders, they basically realize, well, the world's about to end and it's all going to shit and we've ruined everything. And they all kind of lose their minds. And there's a bunch of pies in the massive, world leaders room. And they just go, fuck it, we're just going to throw pies at one another. And a massive pie fight ensues. The world's ending. They're all going absolutely nuts. And the scene is very long. It's like a 10-minute sequence of just the pies being thrown. Like, I can't imagine what music they would have used for that. But it kind of... The reason why it wasn't used in the film was because it's just is completely out of whack to the what had been going before it in the movie. And I think it would have confused a lot of people. I think test audiences actually saw it and were just like, what? But I think it would have made the movie better. A great opinion from me, guys, someone who hasn't seen it. They're throwing pies at one another, all these world leaders. It just keeps going and going and going for minutes and minutes on end. And once all the pies have been thrown, they're all basically like lying in all the muck of all the pie residue and all the pies still on the ground. And they're actually building sandcastles out of the pies. And these are images that I don't know if they've been playing behind me by this point, but they're available. A lot of different images from this scene are available. I don't know if there's a lot, but it just creates suspicion for the lost media community and for anyone who wants to see deleted scenes from any Stanley Kubrick film, but this one. What else could there have been deleted from his other movies? What other crazy scenes could there have been? Because this one was, as I said, just so out of place in the movie, but in a good way. Like it works, I think. So it could have easily stayed in the movie. He decided to cut it from it. The reason he actually decided to cut it, it wasn't because of how out of place it was. It wasn't because it was, just 10 minutes of continuous pies being thrown and the world leaders losing their minds. It was because all the actors were laughing as they were doing this. And Stanley Kubrick, the 100 takes minimum guy. This was probably just one take, I'm guessing, because it's, imagine doing multiple takes of this. Fuck that. And in that one take, they were all kind of just laughing and chuckling when they were throwing it. And I don't think he really took this scene seriously when he was shooting the movie. I don't think he really thought this is definitely going in the movie. I think he just did it as an alternate ending type thing that he could choose between different things. But yeah, the actors are smiling. You can find it in the screenshots. They're all kind of laughing, and he wanted them to be deadpan serious. When someone's losing their minds and when the world's about to end and when they're all going crazy, are they really going to be deadpan serious? No, they're going to be like, please don't replay that or clip that from this podcast, guys. That's actually really embarrassing. They're going to be quite psycho, and I think that's why it's drawn a lot of confusion and maybe some mockery from fans of Doctor Strangelove as to why not only this wasn't included in the film, but why isn't this available? Why aren't any of his deleted scenes available? I think he didn't want them corrupting the original film. I mean, we talked about the Shrek original versions in the previous episode of the Lost Media podcast, and I mentioned how the filmmakers probably wouldn't like that because it kind of corrupts the movie that exists and kind of makes the audience go, what? And, confuses the audience. It kind of, in some ways, maybe ruins the movie, but I don't think it does. But, it kind of is, there's a reason why these things don't get released. And that's why Stanley Kubrick never released any of his deleted scenes. And that's why he made an effort to destroy them, because he didn't want any of his movies to be altered, the perception of them to be altered, and, confusion to reign. If you go and watch the movie and then you watch deleted scenes and people are just like, what? This could have been in the movie. Why is this why was this filmed? What is this? So I get it. I do get it. But the practice of deleting your unused scenes is something that is pretty rare in filmmaking. Because why? Because of all the effort that goes into making a film. Just why? And I think that kind of ties into him doing 100 takes per scene. I don't know if it's every single scene for every single one of his movies where he got upwards of 100 takes. I'm sure there's some scenes where he did 10 takes in some of his movies. But, you know, imagine the amount of footage that's deleted as opposed to what's there. And these are people that put hours into being on the set of his movies. And, you know, not much of their work, a very small percentage of the work they put into being on set is actually preserved and kept for the public viewing and for anyone, even just for them to view privately. And I'd be pretty pissed off, actually, if I worked on his movies and it was all just deleted and I felt like I wasted a bunch of time with stuff that never saw the light of day and was just straight up erased by Stanley. So it's not just the pie throwing scene. There's scenes from all his movies that have just been completely tossed in the bin. But the pie throwing scene, I think, is the most important one because, I mean, I've heard about this in lost media circles for years, and people are so fascinated in, you know, trying to get more than just screenshots. Like I said, the screenshots, I don't know how they became leaked, but someone can fill me in the comments because I thought I remembered how they became leaked, but I don't. It's something that I think will never be uncovered. It's protected by the vaults. It's the same thing as another movie I'm going to talk about very soon. I've just decided just then on the Lost Media podcast. You can have a guess, but it's a Jerry Lewis film. That's a big hint. So yeah. It's garbage. I'm actually going to talk about that topic in a top 5 lost movies video, and then I'm going to make a separate video on the same topic. So that should be interesting. But guys, let me know in the comments if you know any new information about this piece of lost media, or if you know any other facts that I failed to mention about this and the filming of it and what the actors said about it. If the actors were mad that it wasn't included in the movie. Who knows? Who knows? I'm dying here. Thanks for watching again, guys. Hopefully tomorrow, more weird pieces of lost media. As I said, I might look at a handful of lost movies that are a bit obscure, and yeah, maybe a lost Australian show. Who knows? But join me right here on this stage tomorrow. I don't know what I'm saying. See you guys.